What's going on YouTube? My name is Darkjack, and in this video I'm going to tell you how to beat Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on Veteran difficulty, which is the highest difficulty setting. Now, I've beaten all of the Call of Duty games on the hardest difficulty, and I've beaten all of the Halo games on their hardest difficulty, which is Legendary. And I've also beaten Dark Souls twice and Demon Souls as well, so I like playing games on the hardest difficulty. I like a challenge. And out of all the Call of Duty games to beat on Veteran, I'd have to say Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is the easiest. It's not that difficult because your health regenerates faster than the previous games, as well as you having custom loadouts, because you can choose your loadout, you can choose which weapon you want. That makes it a lot easier. So let me give you my tips on beating the game on the hardest difficulty. First of all, you want to keep all of your engagements at long range, because the guns in the campaign work just like the guns in the multiplayer. Each gun has a certain amount of damage, it has a maximum damage and a minimum damage. And the guns do the most damage at close range, and they do the least amount of damage at long range. So the bullet damage drops off at long range. And what this means is that if you keep all of your engagements long range, it takes more bullets for the enemy to kill you than at close range. So up close, it only takes about a second of the enemy shooting at you to kill you. But at long range, it takes at least one or two more bullets in order for them to kill you. And you can always duck down behind cover when you're being shot at. So keep all of your engagements at long range. And because of custom loadouts, you can choose your loadout for long range engagement. So you want to choose an assault rifle and a sniper rifle always. That way you can keep your engagements long range and pick them off at a distance to keep yourself safe. And in Treyarch games, unlike Infinity Ward games, Treyarch uses infinite enemy spawns, which means there are certain parts in the game where the enemies will spawn infinitely until a certain objective is completed or something else. So when you play, you have to learn how to identify and distinguish between normal enemy encounters with a limited number of enemies and infinite enemy spawn ones. And so what I figured out after playing Call of Duty World at War and beating the mission Heart of the Reich on Veteran, I finally figured out how the spawn system works. Now, what I used to think is that the spawns would keep spawning enemies infinitely until I moved up to a certain spot or I did an objective. That's not actually how it works. The way the spawn system works is that in order to prevent the enemy from continually spawning, your teammates, your friendly AI teammates, have to move up to a certain spot. And then once your teammates are at a certain spot, that will then block the spawns, and the enemies will no longer spawn, but your teammates will not move up until you move up. So you have to move up from cover to cover, playing carefully, using cover to your advantage. Then once your teammates have moved up, then you can play it like any other situation. The enemies will stop spawning. So what you have to do is you have to learn how to distinguish between the two situations. So to do that, you want to stay back and kill the enemies at long range. And if they keep respawning over and over again, so in the mission previous to this, you had to destroy a BTR. And in that place, the enemies respawn infinitely. And they keep respawning until you move up to the place where you get the Stinger missile. And then you can take out the BTR and enemies stop spawning. Also, when you play, you want to take your time. You want to be careful, never rush, and never go out in the open. You always want to stay next to cover so that if you get shot, you can go down prone behind cover and wait for your health to regenerate. Then pop back up and then kill them. So you want to play like a camper. You want to camp. You don't want to get up close. You want to stay at a distance and wait for the enemies to come out of cover, then kill them, and then go back down in cover and reload. But after each checkpoint, you can play a little more aggressively, because you just got a checkpoint. If you die, then you just go back to where you were a few seconds ago. So you can play aggressively after a checkpoint, but then as you get closer to the next checkpoint, you want to play more and more passively, because if you die, you have to go all the way back. So you want to be more careful toward the end of where your last section is until you get a new checkpoint, and then you can play aggressively again. And you always want to be behind cover or moving to cover in Veteran. Also, you want to learn how to throw back grenades, and I learned this from playing World at War. The enemies throw lots of grenades on Veteran. So whenever a grenade is tossed at you, and it says, for me it's press right bumper to throw back, because I play on tactical, you always want to throw back grenades. And you want to just press the button. You don't want to hold on to it for too long, because when the grenade lands, it's probably going to explode in like 3 or 4 seconds. So always throw back grenades. So don't try to run away from them, just throw them away if they're close to you. And whenever you need to reload, or if you're shot at, you always want to go prone immediately. So you want to put your button layout on tactical. You want to play in the tactical button layout. That way it makes it easy to go prone, to get behind cover, or to crouch. So play on tactical and always go down prone to reload or to use cover. And also, you can choose to skip the Strike Force missions. I think the Strike Force missions are too difficult, in my opinion. I'm having a really hard time beating them, and you can only try them so many times. So I would just skip those missions. You don't need to beat them in order to beat the game on Veteran. Also, in the stealth sections of the game, you always want to crouch walk directly behind the person that you're following. You don't want to go in front of them or be too far behind them. Always stay directly behind them. And also, in the campaign, you do not want to use a SCUF gaming controller at the part where you have to drive a bus through LA, because at that part, the SCUF controller, because it has the trigger stops, you can't accelerate in the car fast enough to beat this one section where you have to drive the bus. So what I do is I play on a SCUF controller, but I take that controller out and I put a normal controller in to beat that section. And also it makes it harder to use theater mode and to customize emblems if you have trigger stops on your controller. And if you're struggling, you want to play through the game on normal difficulty first before trying Veteran. That way you can learn the layout of the levels and be more comfortable, because playing through it on Veteran is difficult if you've never beaten a game on the highest difficulty setting before. So play on normal first if you're struggling. Also, after you've beaten the campaign, never choose New Story. If you do that, it deletes all of your progress and you have to start the entire game over again. And that's the mistake I made. After beating it on normal, I thought I had to select New Story to beat it on Veteran. But that's not the case. What you should do is you just click on Replay Mission. Then after you've clicked on the mission, you can then choose the difficulty of that level. So just do that instead of clicking on New Story, because that will force you to replay everything from the very beginning. So I think Treyarch should not even give players that option. And also, if you have not beaten the game yet, remember to shoot him in the leg and not in the head. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil anything, but shoot the guy in the leg, not the head. That's all I'll say. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tip video, and I'll see you later.